This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everyone. I'm hearing voices in my head, and you are too. Maybe not at this exact moment, but you have, whether you realize it or not. And that's what's known as the inner critic, telling you how to pilot your life, what to do, what not to do, putting up red flags, all of that. We are going to confront that and how to get around the inner critic. It's all in your subconscious, and she's well aware of that as she helps many people squash the critic and move their life forward in many different ways. She's a certified clinical hypnotherapist for inner wellness, and she's Becky Waters, and she's back with us. How you doing today?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Very well. It's good to have you back here.
Yeah.
How do you describe the inner critic? I would think that many of us have a different way to describe it, but broadly, how would you put that to words?
So generally, there are little mental monologue of stuff going on way in the subconscious mind, and that inner chatter generally is not helpful. It's usually very critical, and it's where like self-limiting beliefs will come up with that. And the interesting thing, it gets started in childhood. Because we have those mirror neurons that as a child we're learning about, am I loved? Am I safe here? What's my place in the world? And we're watching our parents and caregivers and teachers and literally taking in what they're saying. And if we hear critical things, we take that voice in and we play it in our head, because in that early stage before 6 years old, we're literally taking in everything, watching the patterns and what's said, what's not said, and then that becomes our inner critic.
Wow. So this is all put in from the subconscious, as we've discussed before, and those situations in our childhood that present themselves. And it could be any situation, but then that's the inner critic bringing those things up in some, maybe not, it's not bringing up the exact situation, it's bringing up the feelings and emotions connected to it.
It's repeating patterns, repeating things that happen. So, when you think about it, where do thoughts come from?
Where do thoughts come from?
Yeah, they come from the subconscious mind, bubbling up things we've experienced before, generally. And so, when we hear these over and over, we tend to mirror our, because when you watch children, they're going to say what their parents said, even when you think they're not listening. They're taking those words in, and when we reflect it back, they're rehearsing it in their minds because they're learning and understanding and trying to, what does it mean to be human?
Yeah, like they say, kids are like little sponges.
Yes.
They really are.
Yeah.
And I think back to a lot of the things that, even my mom used to say. I hear them in my mind. A lot of those. And even the scenarios and situations through childhood. I've done hypnotherapy before. Love it. It's fantastic. This is where you realize what's happening in your mind. Like you are confronting the inner critic once you have hypnotherapy.
Yeah. I remember as a sophomore, freshman in college, I'd picked a school very far away and to get away from my parents over protective, that kind of thing. And so I was walking on campus one day And I swear I heard my mother's voice. I mean, I turned around and
Wow.
looked. And it was like, good grief, I can't get away from her.
Because that's the way it is,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
okay. Hearing your mother's voice, would that also be considered the inner critic and the chatter?
yeah. It tends to take on that voice. Um, and just takes over. And anytime you hear, I should do this, I shouldn't do that, it's somebody else's rule that we've incorporated into our paradigm of how things work.
Question here. When you hear things in your mind or, that voice, how do you know it's not your intuition properly piloting you as opposed to the inner critic typically holding you back?
So the inner critic is typically negative, and there'll be insistence about it,
Mm,
like an oh no. In fact, that inner critic voice
mm.
triggers the fight flight response. And as opposed to an intuition, it's going to be more of just kind of a gentle nudge.
I can see that. Like I'm thinking of what it feels like, the two feelings. And usually the gentle nudge is an immediate solution or immediately addressing a situation.
Or an
And
impulse to go this way
yeah,
versus
yeah.
this way.
But then, okay, this is great. What happens at that time? The inner critic steps in. Wait a minute,
Right, exactly.
remember the last time, blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
You might want to double check that because that whatever you're hearing on the other side there, i.e. your intuition, that's doesn't it seems too easy. That can't be reasonable. Let's think about this a little bit more, Becky or Steve.
Right. It's
Yeah.
that second guessing or,
Mm.
well, wait a minute. Because that inner critic is part of the subconscious mind that wants to keep things the same, because same equals safe.
Safe. Mm. Mm. Wow. Um, when you do hypnotherapy, how are you confronting that inner critic? Or is it we are confronting the situations that led to the inner critic to say certain things?
A little bit of both, because, we work with, because these are just habits of thought, habits of feeling. And so to change a habit, you have to begin to, first of all, be aware of it. Because when you're aware of it, it puts a pause in there. And then, I always say, you have that negative thought and you just say, stop. And even that just stop tends to like go, oh. And then you replace it with something more kind. So like if you say, you can't do that,
Mm.
you stop. I'm doing the best I can. I've done this before. I've got this.
Mm.
Something more gentle, more encouraging. And then over time, because it takes repetition, we learn through repetition and association. We didn't get the inner critic just one time. Over time, it grew. And so you replace it with something more kind.
So I just had this conversation last night with some friends. Not even, very serious. And we have a thing that we discuss when this comes up, these things come up. It's cancel, cancel, cancel.
Yes.
For me, I think of it in terms of because I do media, have forever. For me, it's stop, rewind, and hit play. So I'm stopping the moment. I'm going to rewind it. I'm going to hit play, and we're going to and it's going to play differently because I'm confronting the critic, and we're going to do this differently because you've identified that it is the inner critic or monkey chatter. We call it that. All different things
Yeah.
to address it. Mm. Wow. Do you have epiphanies with people you work with, them realizing that that inner critic is within them?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people come in, they know it. Some people don't know it yet. And so, it's a teaching and helping them understand. And then they're like, oh yeah.
Do you get to the point where you don't even know it's the inner critic anymore? You just you're hearing or you're feeling something holding you back. You're not even hearing it anymore. And I guess if you were intentional, you could really push your subconscious to hear the words. But sometimes it's just a block, like a block comes up, getting on a plane, right? Maybe somebody's like, block comes up, I can't do that. I can't do that. Yeah, I'm uncomfortable getting on that plane. I'm going to wait till everybody gets on and then I'll get on last or whatever it might be. It's just that feeling that comes up, but you don't necessarily have to hear the inner critic, right?
Uh, because there's a thought feeling loop. Sometimes we notice the thought first, sometimes we'll notice the emotion first. And so when you feel
Hmm.
that feeling, then look and like what just happened or what am I telling myself? Because whatever we tell ourselves causes the emotion. And so when you notice that feeling, what is the thought behind that feeling? And then you can shift the thought, which will shift the feeling.
Does the thought let's put a microscope on this thought versus feeling. Does the thought usually come up first, then the feeling follows it, or does it not matter? It could be any order.
Well, I've been over and over this and looked online, researching it. There are many opinions. And the one that seems to be the most prevalent is that the thought happens first and then the emotion, but we may not notice the thought first. We may notice the emotion first.
I have to agree with you. Like I'm scanning my mind in different situations and what, may have held me back. And I agree with you. Yeah. Yeah. But I feel the thought has to beep, be there first for the emotion to follow. But like you said, it could just be so quick that you don't even realize it. And now you're into the emotion.
Right.
Either
And
way,
you
it's
may
holding you back.
be several layers down because you have a thought, which is a chemical response, and then we have an emotional response to that thought, which is another chemical going on. And then we have a thought about that emotion. Then we have another emotion about that thought. And we can go into talk ourselves into a loop down. But you can do the opposite of talk yourself up.
Mm, can we go there? All right, so let's go on the plane analogy. It's a pretty common one. Hypnotherapy can support that to get you over that fear of getting on a plane. You're at that moment, and I have a friend. This is in very clear memory. Um, we would we worked together for many years, and we would broadcast in different places. It could be another country, Caribbean, whatever. And she would have challenges getting on the plane. She would often wait till the last minute to get on the plane. So let's say you're in that situation. Uh, Maybe had that thought, then you have that feeling, whatever that feeling is. Could be a feeling of out of control, stuck on, I'm 30,000 feet up in a tin can. What if I have anxiety? What if I have to go to the bathroom? What if I have an emergency? Whatever. La, 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 la. It's happening right now for somebody, Becky. They're here. How do we talk ourselves up instead of talking ourselves down?
In the moment, um, you you reach for, a better feeling thought about it. In the moment, you breathe, begin to
Mm,
calm the nervous system down. Tell yourself that you're safe, you've flown before, it's okay, I've got this, and just breathe at that point.
mm,
And then go see a hypnotherapist and they will help you.
100%. 100%. Thank you for the breathing reminder, because in those moments, that's where you're like, anxiety's starting to build, and
Right,
you can counteract that with just intentional deep breaths. That's,
right.
amazing.
Because when we're in fight flight, we're shallow breathing, which perpetuates the fight flight.
Mm.
And so just that slow exhale turns on the parasympathetic system. And so it lets us, the body know that I'm safe. I'm safe.
So that breathing turns on the parasympathetic nerve system.
Yes, the slow exhale.
So it's about the exhale. That's where you're
Yeah.
okay. Um, Thank you for that, because I always try to share with people the breathing thing, and sometimes, yeah, it's not going to work. And I'm like, but it's research. It is scientifically proven. Now I have a way to verbalize
Right.
it.
However,
um,
if you go, that's not going to work.
no, no.
That will just make you more tense.
I've, if I shared this with you, I've always had a fear of needles and blood tests.
Mm.
And I reframed it over time. And I've had hypnotherapy, not for this, but I'll bet you a lot of the stuff that I encountered in hypnotherapy probably was part of it in some regard. But I flipped it to tell myself that this, you're getting information from this blood test, that you're doing something
Mm.
for you. This is a good thing, okay? This is very important. And think of how you're going to feel when the results come back, whether they're perfect or whether there's a little, tweaking that needs to get done, and flipped it to a positive. And over, a few blood tests, then it totally changed me. I don't worry about it. I don't think about it. I used to set an appointment and then I would change it, the day before. Years.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of rewriting the story for somebody getting on the plane. We're using that hypothetical in that, I'm nervous. I'm in that plane. I'm in a tin can. Flipping it to, I'm going on vacation.
Exactly.
I got 7 days coming. The only way to get there is on this plane. It's 3 hours, and I'm going to be reading and watching TV. I'll have something to drink. People fly every day, and look at the outcome. What a great time I'm going to have. It's almost like an upsell, like a salesperson upselling
Well, you're
in your mind.
focusing on the benefit
Right, right.
instead of the oh no.
Which doesn't exist.
Right. And
Yeah.
then you practice that, because the subconscious doesn't know if it's really happening or if you're just thinking about it. And so you mentally rehearse that to help
Mm.
rewire it and put those positive seeds in there.
I want to go back to something you said. You just sparked a memory in me of something that you said way back, in that the subconscious, and for me, this blows my mind. It doesn't know that you're not a kid anymore. It has no idea. It just, what it's telling you is based on information you got as a kid or scenario situations you experienced. It doesn't know you're now an adult. It's just throwing that stuff out at you to keep you safe. I find that pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it doesn't know past, present, future. You think of a memory and it's literally like plugging in software.
Mm.
It plays that memory and all the thoughts, feelings, everything comes back. And so it's thinking it's happening right now.
On the plus side, it's there to help you. It's there to protect you. Think of it in terms of evolution. If we didn't have the subconscious giving you information, you may have done something, jumped into the water as a kid. You're on a bridge and you jump into the water. It was all great, swim around, whatever. Maybe you had an issue. Maybe, you hit your leg on a rock or something like that. Now you're an adult. I'm going to do it again. Yeah, I'm going to jump off. And maybe there's a reason you shouldn't. So it's trying to protect you, but sometimes it's a little overprotective. And like you said, it doesn't know. It's kind of stupid. I'm going to say it. It's kind of stupid.
Well, exactly. It has no sense of humor.
Yeah.
It takes everything literally.
Mm.
And that amygdala, the primitive part of the brain doesn't know that it's it still thinks it's 10,000 years ago. And, thank goodness we have it, or none of us would be here.
Right, right. So there's good in it, but I never thought of it until you said it before, that the subconscious is never, I don't want to say never, but maybe I should. You tell me. It's always negative. It's negative. When does your subconscious
Prime
say,
directive.
"There you go, that's a great job. You do that." Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it
Prime
ever
directive is to keep you safe. And so it's always going to be on
on
the
alert?
lookout
On a lookout.
for
Yeah, we said it at the same time. It's on
danger.
alert.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like I remember that old TV show Lost in Space with the robot, and it was like
Oh, yeah.
warning, warning,
Danger,
warning,
danger.
danger, danger. That's kind of what it's doing.
Yeah.
There's benefits there, but unfortunately, as a child, all that stuff gets programmed, and now we're not children anymore, and that's invariably it's holding us back. The beautiful thing is hypnotherapy can find it, address it, and change it. When the change takes place, Becky, what's going on? Is it a rewiring of your brain?
It's literally a rewiring, because you know neurons that fire together wire together. So if those thoughts are building those neurons, and the more thoughts, the more you think that way, the stronger it gets. So it's more automatic. And so to change that, you have to, stop, cancel, replace it with a positive thought, and then follow through and repeat that process. And, generally it's about 66 times, about 2.5 months is kind of like the sweet spot, depending on how many times and how often.
So somebody getting on a plane, does that mean they have to get on a plane 6 times for it to really cement? Or after hypnotherapy, could it be reasonable to think I'm good now, or maybe I'm way better than I was before?
So yeah, so we learn things, and when you go to a hypnotherapist, or you can do this on your own, you, like I said, you mentally rehearse yourself getting on the plane, feeling very calm, comfortable, looking forward to where you're going, thinking about that. And as you repeat that each time,
Mm.
the neural pathway gets stronger. And then you go out in life and practice, see how you did, get feedback. Oh, okay, maybe next time I'll add this little point that I didn't think about, and that's generally how we learn. We
Mm.
learn, go out in life, get feedback, come back, and make course corrections.
But based on my experience, the only way to do that is confronting your subconscious, and that's through hypnotherapy. I don't even talk therapy, it's not going to go deep. That's my opinion.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to scratch the surface. Maybe you'll see some connections to how your childhood was versus what's going on in your life now as an adult, but you're not going to get really deep into it. And that's where the massive change takes place to change your life.
Right. You can talk about it till the cows come home. It's not going to change the behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've had, as I've shared, even before we met, hypnotherapy a number of times.
Mhm.
And I've gone back to my childhood a number of times, and I've seen stuff I didn't realize there, or I've seen visuals, like I'm watching a movie again, but with more clarity and more detail. I guess because maybe there's layers there in the subconscious, and maybe I went a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. But bottom line here is, as you know, it's all things that hold you back.
Right.
You know, I call it connecting the dots. I could sit here
Yeah.
and put it on a piece of paper. That happened in childhood. That's what was going on in my adult life. That happened in childhood, and not major stuff. I'm bullied on the
Right.
playground. That made an impact. I got it right over here.
Right. Yeah.
And there could be things wasn't even aware of that can pop up. Yeah,
Right.
it's profound. Best way to reach you? How do we find you?
Becky at Center for Inner Wellness is my website. Or you can email me at becky@centerforinnerwellness.com.
I love the title, the name of your practice, because wellness, we got that, but the
Mhm.
inner wellness,
Yeah.
That comes from within. All the stuff we're talking about is in us now. And we need to confront it if we want to be well. And how are you well? Well, you're living a life that you want to live without any
Right.
chains and blocks and all of that. I know this is kind of deep for some, and some people have an aversion to hypnotherapy based on what they think, mind control, and all that. All not true. We talked about that before.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
if somebody just wants to reach out and start a conversation with you, just to see if it's a right fit, do you have a consult?
Yeah. It's a discovery session. You can um, do that on my website, and we can have a chat, see if it's something that's right for you.
It's right for you. It really is game changer, and that's I it's I am a champion for hypnotherapy. I am the cheerleader. It is once you get over the aversions and the silly things that we think, and this, I guess they're not silly, but when you look back at it, the guy hypnotizing people in an audience, so it's just
That's that's a whole different strategy.
yeah, it totally is. Becky,
Yeah.
thank you for all the clarity, the insight today. Really appreciate it, and looking forward next time we get together.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.